What would you do if the spirits of an ancient river cursed your family for generations? Imagine confronting your greatest fear, knowing that the fate of your unborn child rests entirely in your hands. Once upon a time, in a mysterious land nestled beside the vast Kattin River, where mysticism intertwined with nature. This land was situated in a remote region of the southern United States, near Charleston, South Carolina, where rolling hills merged with winding rivers like giant serpents stretching endlessly into the mist. This was a place where legends and mysteries had been passed down through generations, where spirits seemed to linger between our world and the beyond, protecting or cursing anyone who dared to trespass upon their territory. Amid the peaceful scenery of this village, life passed like a quiet river. The villagers relied primarily on agriculture, with endless fields of sugarcane and cotton. Every day, they lived simple lives, worked hard and spent time with their families. Yet within this serene picture, there was a young woman named Maya, who was about to embark on a journey that would completely change her life. Maya was a beautiful girl with a radiant smile and a heart full of love. From a young age, she had loved Jamal, a strong and determined man from the village. Jamal was the ideal man in the eyes of any woman, possessing the strength of a warrior, but the gentle heart of someone always ready to protect Maya with his life. Their love was as beautiful as a fairy tale, and in just a few weeks, their wedding day would arrive. The entire village eagerly awaited this big day, but there was something Maya could not bring herself to say. A terrible secret she kept hidden in her heart. One evening, as the sun began to set and the last rays of the day faded, Maya sat outside her small wooden house. The sky above looked like a smooth canvas transitioning from gold to purple, and the air was cool and pleasant. Maya sat beside her mother Evelyn, the woman who had always been a strong support in her life. But today, worry was evident on Maya's face. Her hands trembled as she fidgeted with her mother's sleeve, feeling the heaviness in her chest, as though something unspeakable was pressing down on her. "Mum, I need to tell you something," Maya whispered, unable to look her mother in the eye. She felt that what she was about to say would change everything. Evelyn stopped and turned to her daughter with a gaze full of understanding but also concern. "My dear, you've been different lately. What's going on?" Maya took a deep breath, as though trying to steady herself before a storm. She looked down at the ground and quietly said, "Mum, I'm pregnant." At that moment, Evelyn froze, as if turned to stone. The knife in her hand fell to the ground, hitting it softly, but the sound echoed like a thunderclap. She stared at Maya, her eyes wide in shock, as though hearing a curse from another world. "What did you just say?" "I'm pregnant," Maya repeated, her voice weak, almost a whisper. Silence enveloped the room. Evelyn said nothing, standing up and beginning to pace with a face full of tension, as though she couldn't believe what she had just heard. She sighed, then looked at Maya with sadness in her eyes, as if trying to find an answer. "Maya, do you know what this means?" Evelyn asked, her voice trembling. "The curse. It has fallen upon our family." Maya tried to hide the fear rising within her. She wanted to convince her mother that all her worries were just superstitions. "Mum, that's just an old story. I don't believe in those curses." But Evelyn shook her head, and a genuine fear was evident in her eyes. She stepped closer to Maya, her voice becoming soft but grave. "You don't understand, Maya. We have betrayed the spirits of the Kattin River, and now they have cursed our family. Every time a woman in our family becomes pregnant before marriage, her child will no longer be human. It will become something else, something that cannot be called human." Her mother's words struck Maya like a bolt of lightning. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. She knew her mother was strict and deeply believed in ancient traditions, but now everything seemed too much to bear. "Mum, what are you saying? How can a child not be human?" Maya asked, her eyes filled with confusion. Evelyn looked at her, her face full of despair. "This is no joke, Maya. I've seen many families in this village face tragic fates because they dared to defy the curse of the Kattin River. Those spirits never forgive and they will take revenge. Maya didn't know what to do, feeling as though her world was collapsing around her. She loved Jamal, and she couldn't imagine a future where the child in her womb wasn't human. But was the curse real? Did she truly believe what her mother said? Questions flooded Maya's mind like a torrential river, and she didn't know how to escape the fear. But one thing she knew for certain: nothing could stop her love for Jamal, and she would do everything to protect her small family, even if it meant facing unimaginable dangers. However, Maya couldn't have known that a journey filled with trials and mysteries awaited her. A journey that would not only test her courage, but push her to her very limits. And one thing she knew for sure: she would have to face the Kattin River, where the spirits still watched her every step. Follow the channel African Tales Best to continue following this thrilling story. Maya couldn't believe her mother's words. Evelyn, her mother, who had always taught her to believe in ancient values and the existence of mystical spirits, was now telling her a story she couldn't accept. Maya loved Jamal, the man she trusted and shared all her dreams and fears with. And now, at the moment of happiness, as she prepared to embark on a new life with him, Maya couldn't believe that being pregnant before marriage could lead to such a terrible curse. It was an old tale, a myth that only existed in the stories told by mothers, but it couldn't possibly be real. Maya tried to push all her worries out of her mind, but strange dreams began to haunt her. Every night, as she lay in her small home, the sound of the distant river seemed to lull her, softly, yet ominously. She heard it every time darkness fell, and each time she felt as though the Kattin River, once gentle and serene, had become a living entity, full of mystery and danger. Although she knew it was all in her head, Maya couldn't stop feeling that something very real, very close, and frightening lingered in those nightmares. Her dreams always began the same way. She stood by the Kattin River, staring at its swirling waters as though they were trying to drown everything, and in the faint mist she saw a vague figure, a crying child. The child's face was indistinguishable, but its cries tore at her heart. Waves suddenly crashed violently against the shore, pulling her into the current, but she couldn't move. Only the child's wails, mournful and haunting, echoed through the space. When she awoke, sweat drenched her forehead, her heart pounding as if it might leap out of her chest. Her hands trembled as she tried to take deep breaths to steady herself. Yet in those moments, Maya couldn't explain the strange sensation that enveloped her. Something was wrong, something dangerous awaited her, and she couldn't comprehend it. Her dreams grew increasingly vivid, as though they were warning her about something she didn't yet understand. The next morning, as sunlight streamed through the window, Maya felt exhausted. She sat up, her body still weary. The waves from her dream the night before seemed to echo in her mind. But then she heard a knock on the door and realized Jamal had come to visit her, as he often did. He walked in with a look of concern, gazing at her with a special tenderness. He knew Maya hadn't been herself lately, but didn't know why. "Maya, are you okay? You've seemed so sad and different lately," Jamal asked, his voice full of worry. Maya smiled, trying to mask all the fears within her. She didn't want him to worry, didn't want to ruin the joy of their upcoming wedding. She gently replied, "Don't worry, I'm fine. I'm just a little tired." Jamal looked into her eyes, his gaze full of gentleness and love. He stepped closer, taking her hand. "Don't worry. We'll get through this together. Our wedding will be amazing, you'll see. I'll always be by your side." The reassurance in Jamal's words eased Maya's heart a little, but the sense of unease lingered. She tried to convince herself it was all in her head, just nightmares that didn't mean anything. But deep in her heart, Maya knew these weren't mere coincidences. Something greater, a power she couldn't comprehend, was lurking in her dreams. Maya couldn't bring herself to tell Jamal the truth, that what her mother had said might be true. She couldn't shatter his joy, couldn't let him worry about something even she couldn't explain. Maya could only stay silent and hope that as the wedding approached, everything would resolve itself and her worries would fade. But every night, as the moon rose high, the dreams continued to haunt her. Maya couldn't escape the strange figures, the cries of the child and the river's pull. She felt that the Kattin River, which surrounded the village and sustained their lives, was calling to her. It wasn't just a river. It was a mysterious entity with a power even the people living there dared not underestimate. The more time passed, the more Maya felt that her dreams were more than illusions. Each time she woke, the unease in her heart deepened, and she began to wonder if her mother was right. She began to question whether the spirits in the river were truly watching her, preparing for a trial she couldn't escape. But one thing Maya couldn't understand. Could the Kattin River, a river she had known her whole life, hold such a mysterious power? A curse capable of altering her life forever? She couldn't answer the question herself, and so the fear continued to loom over her mind, clinging to her every step. Both Jamal and Maya busied themselves with wedding preparations, but the shadow of her strange dreams never left her. She couldn't stop fearing what might happen. She knew that if the curse was real, everything in her life would change and the child she carried might not be the human child she hoped for. She stood between two worlds, one of the happiness of her upcoming wedding and the love she had for Jamal, and the other of the curse that loomed like a ghost hovering over her life. Could she free herself from this threat, or would she have to face a trial full of challenges where everything she once knew would be turned upside down? The answer could only be discovered when Maya decided to confront the curse, and when she unraveled the greatest secret of the Kattin River. The wedding day drew near, and the village was abuzz with excitement. The entire community gathered by the banks of the great Kattin River, eagerly anticipating the grand event, the day Maya and Jamal would officially become husband and wife. Dressed in a pristine white wedding gown, Maya stepped out of her small wooden house, her radiant smile lighting up the scene. Yet, deep within her, an unshakable sense of unease lingered. Her mother Evelyn's earlier warnings about the river's curse echoed in her mind like cries in the dark, haunting her thoughts. Outside, everyone in the village eagerly awaited the ceremony. They gathered by the river, preparing to witness the sacred event Maya had dreamed of since she was a child. But as Maya stood there in the most important moment of her life, anxiety clung tightly to her heart. The crowd around her, friends, neighbors, and loved ones, gazed at her with admiration. Yet inside, the festive atmosphere did nothing to soothe the growing fear gnawing at her. When Jamal appeared, his eyes lit up as he saw Maya in her stunning wedding dress. He couldn't take his eyes off her. His smile beamed with pride and happiness. Compliments flowed freely from the crowd, but to Maya, they sounded like distant echoes. All she could feel was emptiness and a sense of spiritual paralysis. Her strange dreams, the haunting whispers of the Kattin River, clung to her like shadows she couldn't escape. She felt as though she was caught between two worlds, unable to break free or move forward. The ceremony began, and as the priest uttered his blessings, Maya felt a chill sweep through her body. The cold wind was like an omen, an inexplicable sensation that left her unsettled. The sky, once clear and blue, grew dark, as though a storm was brewing. The river, usually gentle and serene, suddenly churned with violent waves crashing against the shore. The sound of the waves was like a warning, as if the river itself were bearing witness to an irreversible truth. Villagers began murmuring to one another, their whispers spreading unease. Some tried to mask their fear, but Maya could feel the tension in the air. She wished for everything to end quickly so she could return to her peaceful life, yet she couldn't stop thinking about her mother's warnings of the curse. And as the priest slowly poured water from the river over the hands of the bride and groom, a sharp, searing pain tore through Maya's abdomen. The pain struck without warning. Maya collapsed to the ground with a loud cry, the world around her seeming to crumble as she fell. Blood began to seep from her abdomen, staining her once pristine white gown with crimson, defiling the symbol of purity she had worked so hard to prepare. Panic erupted among the villagers as they rushed toward her, yet none could help. In that moment, a chilling coldness radiated from within her, and the cries of the child from her dreams echoed in her mind once more. But the strangest event had yet to unfold. Suddenly, from beneath Maya's wedding dress, a massive serpent slithered out, coiling tightly around her legs. This serpent was unlike any Maya had ever seen. Its shimmering scales glowed with a golden hue, as if it were forged from pure gold. Even more peculiar, the serpent did not attack. Instead, it let out a low, hissing sound, as though whispering a curse, a forewarning of the end. Maya couldn't believe her eyes. The snake was immense, impossibly large, and wrapped around her legs like a mythical creature from another realm. When the villagers saw the serpent, their doubts evaporated. The curse Evelyn had warned of so long ago had come true. Everyone looked at one another in horror, unable to comprehend what was happening, but certain they could no longer deny reality. This is the curse, a woman gasped, her voice trembling as she stared at the vivid red stain on Maya's white gown and the menacing serpent coiled around her. The curse has befallen her family. A cold shiver ran down Maya's spine as though she were trapped in a nightmare she couldn't wake from. Her strange dreams, her mother's warnings, they were all true. The Kattin River, once her childhood playground, a safe and harmless presence, had now become an invisible enemy intent on consuming everything. And the serpent, the mysterious being entwined around her legs, was the embodiment of the river's curse, a living reminder of the ancient spirits, the ancestral threats her family had long avoided. A sense of pain and helplessness overwhelmed Maya. She couldn't understand why this was happening. All she wanted was to live as a normal person with the man she loved in a happy life. But now everything was torn apart by mystical forces beyond her control. The villagers gathered around her, too afraid to approach but unable to look away. They exchanged fearful glances, their faces pale with worry. The spirits of the Kattin River, the ancestral curses, they seemed to rise, threatening not only Maya, but the entire village. The serpent, a symbol of death and vengeance, remained coiled around her legs, hissing ominously as if waiting for the final judgment. The villagers could do nothing but stand by, powerless against the unfolding events. But Maya, in her moment of deepest despair, felt an unusual strength rising within her. She couldn't let the darkness prevail. She had to do something, face the curse head-on, even knowing it might demand the ultimate sacrifice. This was only the beginning. Maya understood that her journey, her battle with the curse, was just starting, and she would not give up. Maya had no other choice. Her mother Evelyn's warnings about the curse of the Kattin River were no longer distant tales of folklore. They were a terrifying reality, manifesting right before her eyes. It was too late to avoid it, too late to doubt or fear. She knew that if she didn't face this, not only she, but her entire family would be cursed forever. The unborn child she carried, an innocent soul, would become the victim of this curse, and nothing could save it. Taking a deep breath, Maya steadied herself, though fear gripped her chest like a vice. She stood resolutely. She knew there was no other way. If she didn't take action, if she didn't confront the spirits of the Kattin River, everything would collapse. She couldn't live with regret, nor bear the cost of inaction. The price of not standing up was too great. The evening sky seemed to prepare itself for this battle, with dark clouds rolling in and the air growing colder and more menacing. She felt surrounded, as though the Kattin River and the spirits within it were watching her every step. Every sound, every movement seemed to still, leaving only a deadly silence, a quiet that carried the weight of an uneasy night. As Maya left the village, no one dared to follow her. The entire community watched her go, their eyes filled with worry and fear, but no one spoke a word. They knew this was no game. This was life or death. Maya stepped into the darkness. Fear surged through her like a wave, but she did not turn back. She would not allow herself to be weak, to retreat. Though her heart pounded wildly and her hands trembled, she pressed on toward the riverbank. It was the final place she had to go, the place where she would confront the spirits of the Kattin River, and the place where her fate and that of her family and unborn child would be decided. Suddenly, a voice called out from the distance, strong and commanding, as though it had been waiting for this moment from the depths of the river. The voice echoed through the air, making Maya stop in her tracks, her heart pounding in her chest. "Maya, you have brought our wrath upon yourself. The curse has been enacted," the voice said, cold and menacing. Maya froze. It felt as if her name had been torn apart in the air, as though it no longer belonged to her. She looked around, but saw no one. No shadow, only the darkness and the sound of waves gently lapping. But she knew the spirits of the river were watching her. They were there, somewhere, waiting. An indescribable fear engulfed her, but Maya would not allow herself to be weak. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and continued walking. She would not let these spirits win, nor let them control her life. The Kattin River came into view before her, a dark rushing current cloaked in mist. Waves crashed against the shore like roaring cries, like curses lingering in the air. This river, the place she had grown up around, where she had played as a child, had now transformed into a terrifying, powerful force she couldn't comprehend. She moved closer, one step at a time, her heart pounding so hard it felt like it was outside her chest. Each step she took echoed in the silent void around her. Then the voice spoke again, sharper and clearer this time. "Maya, if you wish to save your child, you must prove your courage and strength. Face our trial. If you survive, the curse will be lifted. But if you fail, your child will belong to us forever." The words struck her like a dagger to the heart, but they also spurred her forward, calling her to action. This was the moment she had to make her choice. If she didn't face it, if she didn't overcome this trial, the child in her womb would never have the chance to live a normal life. It would be stolen, becoming part of the spirits that could never return. Maya could hesitate no longer. She was ready, even though she knew this trial would not be easy. The spirits of the river had issued their challenge, and she would not back down. Despite the overwhelming fear, she took a deep breath and stepped toward the river, where everything would be decided. The water began to churn more violently, as though reacting to her resolve. Faint, shadowy forms appeared around her, the spirits long imprisoned within the Kattin River. They lacked distinct shapes, only swirling spectres hovering around her, touching her mind and heart. Maya could feel their coldness, their anger, and she knew this was her true trial. Suddenly, from the darkness, a strange form emerged, a colossal creature rising from the water. The serpent appeared like a being of legend, its fiery eyes glowing, its scales gleaming like gold, and its massive, sinuous body stretching outward. Maya froze, unable to believe what she was seeing, but there was no time to hesitate. The serpent slithered closer, and the spirits began to whisper, their voices blending together into a single resonant sound. "Are you ready, Maya? Face your greatest fear." Maya could feel the serpent's breath, its hisses cutting through her mind, shaking her very soul. Every heartbeat felt like a challenge, a battle she had to win. She stood still, took a deep breath, and clenched her fists with determination. "I will not let fear control me anymore," Maya said to herself, her resolve surging within her. With a bold step forward, Maya advanced toward the serpent. She stared into its blazing eyes and stepped past her fear. This was her battle. If she didn't overcome it, if she didn't defeat these spirits, it would all be over. But Maya would not lose. She would never give up. Maya no longer felt fear. After days of anxiety and battling with herself, she had resolved to face the spirits of the Kattin River. She couldn't retreat, couldn't let everything end in darkness. She had to do this, not just for herself, but for her unborn daughter, a pure and innocent soul relying on her determination. Holding a lantern in her hand, its dim light casting soft glows around her, Maya stepped into the darkness. The chill enveloped her, but she didn't stop. The river before her, once a symbol of tranquility, now seemed like a powerful and living entity, full of might and challenge. The black waters stretched endlessly, deep and perilous, as though ready to devour everything within it. But Maya couldn't turn back. She stepped forward, her feet touching the icy water one step at a time. Moments later, a dense fog began to envelop her, as if trying to shield her from the outside world. Every cold breeze, every wave lapping at the shore carried whispers calling her name. Strange voices echoed from the thick mist, their origins unclear but unmistakably chilling, making her feel every word as though the spirits of the river were speaking directly to her, urging her to turn back, to surrender. Maya, Maya, you will not survive. The whispers repeated relentlessly, each word stabbing at her heart, sowing doubt, tempting her to stop. But she couldn't. She had come too far, had already started this journey, and there was no turning back. Every step Maya took was filled with determination, though her heart still pounded wildly with an unshakable fear. The river, like a slumbering beast awakening, grew increasingly violent. Large waves rose crashing toward her with force. Maya clutched the lantern tightly, doing her best to keep its fragile flame alive in the darkness. The surging waters seemed intent on pulling her under, swallowing her in their rage. But Maya refused to give in. She wouldn't let herself be defeated. Every time a wave struck her, she regained her balance and took another step forward. As she ventured deeper, the sense of unease intensified. It was as if the river held not only water but centuries of secrets, fears, and sorrows. Something larger than her, larger than anything she had ever known, was watching her, tracking her every move. When Maya reached a strange and unfamiliar place, the surroundings suddenly changed. The waves seemed to recede, no longer as violent as before, but the atmosphere became darker and heavier, filled with an ominous presence. Maya could feel the existence of something vast and threatening, something not of this world. And then, in the dim light of her lantern, she saw a colossal figure rise from the water. It was a serpent, a massive creature, its scales shimmering like gemstones, reflecting the faint light of her lantern to create a terrifying sight that Maya could scarcely believe. The serpent turned its head, its fiery eyes glowing as it stared directly at Maya. She felt her entire body freeze as if turned to stone. Its hissing echoed in the air, making the surrounding space oppressive, as though it was challenging her, forcing her to confront her deepest fears. The serpent wasn't just a natural creature. It was the embodiment of every fear and terror Maya had carried throughout her life. "Look into my eyes, Maya," the serpent whispered, its voice low and haunting. "Look into the fear within yourself. Look at the monster you've hidden in your soul." Its gaze seemed to pull Maya into another world, a world of shadows and dread, where unspoken fears, forgotten dreams, and buried anguish stirred endlessly. Each glance from the serpent was like a mirror, reflecting the darkest corners of her heart, the mistakes she had made, the fears she had never dared to face. Maya wanted to run, to escape the serpent's piercing stare, but part of her knew that if she didn't face it, if she didn't look within herself, she could never escape this curse. She had to overcome it, to fight against the fear that ran deep inside her, to confront everything she had tried so hard to forget. With a resolute motion, Maya took a deep breath and stepped toward the serpent. Her eyes never wavered from its fiery gaze. She stared straight into its burning red eyes, refusing to back down. Every second, every moment, her fear grew stronger, but Maya knew that if she wanted to save her child, if she wanted to free her family, she had to confront this terror. The serpent, as though recognizing the determination in Maya's eyes, stopped hissing, but its gaze remained unrelenting, burning like a fire that could consume everything. "Are you ready?" it whispered again. "This is the final trial. Your strength will decide your fate, and the fate of your child." Maya didn't reply. She focused on the fear within her, confronting it head-on, refusing to let it defeat her anymore. No matter the serpent's power, no matter how the river spirits tried to pull her under, she wouldn't step back. She was ready. Finally, with a powerful motion, Maya broke through every mental barrier. She locked her gaze on the serpent, and as she did, she felt something miraculous shift. The fear dissolved, replaced by a sense of peace, as though she had overcome the greatest battle of her life. The serpent let out one final hiss before gradually retreating into the dark waters, seemingly defeated by Maya's strength. The spirits of the river, too, withdrew silently, leaving an eerie calm behind. Maya knew she had won. The spirits of the river, the vengeance of past generations, had been appeased. The curse was lifted. The child in her womb would live, and her family would be saved. Exhausted but triumphant, Maya stood firm on the riverbank. Slowly, the world around her returned to its tranquil state, and she knew she had succeeded. The curse was gone, leaving only hope and the newfound strength she had discovered within herself. Maya returned to the village after an arduous journey, leaving everyone who saw her in disbelief. Just hours earlier, Maya had been a young woman filled with fear, struggling to overcome the trials of the spirits of the Kattin River. Now, she stood before them, strong, resilient, and above all, a living symbol of triumph, courage, and family love. As she walked through the village gates, the villagers stared at her in awe, their faces a mix of admiration and astonishment. They couldn't believe that she had returned after facing an ancient and deadly curse. A curse no one had dared to challenge, let alone survive. But Maya had done it. She had broken the curse. The village erupted in cheers, gathering around her in celebration, as though a hero had returned from a great and perilous battle. Especially when they saw Maya holding her baby in her arms, all previous fears melted away. Baby Kato, with his bright eyes and soft skin, was living proof of Maya's strength and resilience, as well as the undying love she had for her family. The villagers couldn't help but be moved by what Maya had endured. They looked at her as a victor, not only because she had defeated the curse, but because she had brought new hope to their community, a hope they had long thought lost. For Maya and Jamal, however, life would never be the same. Reunited in the embrace of their family and community, they felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Though future challenges might arise, they had learned a valuable lesson about respecting nature, maintaining balance with unseen forces, and the power of love in overcoming adversity. Maya and Jamal named their child Kato after the river that had tested them so profoundly. Maya's story, a tale of redemption and victory over supernatural forces, became a living legend in the village. It was a story that the elders would tell to future generations, not just to explain mysterious phenomena, but to remind everyone of the value of courage, sacrifice, and the bonds of family. This story teaches us a profound lesson about the power of love and courage. Maya didn't just overcome the curse. She conquered her own fears, facing trials that no one else dared to. These trials were not only physical, but also spiritual, as she confronted the spirits of the river and the curse that had plagued generations. The love Maya and Jamal shared, and especially Maya's love for her unborn child, was the powerful force that kept her going. This story reminds us that no matter how harsh life may be, if we hold on to our faith in good values, summon the courage to face our fears, and find motivation in love, we can overcome anything. Maya's triumph wasn't just through her own strength. She also understood that true power lies in respecting and connecting with the invisible forces around us, nature, the spirits of the past, and family. These elements created a harmony that helped her overcome her trials. So, dear audience, do you believe that love can help you overcome any challenge? Do you believe in the strength of family and courage in life's most difficult moments? Share your thoughts in the comments below this video. I'd love to hear what you think about Maya's story. If you found this story intriguing and touching, Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next videos. Share this story with your friends and family, as it's not only a tale of mystery, but also a lesson in love, sacrifice, and courage. Thank you for watching this video. Stay with us as we explore more captivating stories from around the world. And remember, don't miss the next chapter, where Maya faces another challenge as a new force from the past begins to emerge. Will she triumph once more or face unimaginable trials? Don't forget to turn on notifications to be the first to find out. Thank you, and see you in the next stories.